Welcome back to Bad Boss Detox, the podcast where we give you permission to say no, like it's your favorite word. Today we're talking about boundaries and how to hold your ground at work without digging yourself into a hole.
Yep. I will just say, for the sake of the podcast, that I had to hold my boundaries this week twice. I had somebody hassling me on the internet that I had to just delete that and let that go and be like, nah, I'm just not going to engage with that. And I also had to turn down a project because I just wasn't comfortable doing it. And it was sad.
You can't read something that you're not comfortable reading.
Yeah.
Saying words is hard if you don't feel them.
Exactly. And maybe there's someone out there that is I don't know.
There are people out there. There's
people out there that probably would love to read that book that I just turned down, but it isn't me.
Yesterday on our Facebook,
that.
on our Bad Boss Detox Facebook page, we're in some groups, some podcast groups, and somebody asked the question, how do you feel when you get negative feedback? And there was a lot of answers, But I said, I just wish our listeners would interact with us at all. Negative, positive, something.
Prove to us that you exist, y'all.
Yeah. There's at least 981 of you.
We're so close.
Or there's one person who's listened 981 times.
Jonathan has listened to this podcast so many times. He just has it on repeat while he sleeps. We love you, Jonathan. Someday I'll meet you and hug you and tell you how cool you are in person, but, this will have to do for now. Psychology Today describes work-life boundaries as essential for our overall well-being and happiness. Boundaries are well-defined limits in a relationship with someone or something. They serve 5 key functions.
They help protect us, clarify what is and isn't our responsibility, preserve our physical and emotional energy, create clear professional expectations, and live our values and standards. Not having healthy workplace boundaries increases stress, burnout, decreased performance, and voluntary attrition. Now, of course, I had to look up voluntary attrition because I don't know what the fuck that meant.
Me either.
Culture Monkey told me voluntary employee attrition refers to the rate at which employees choose to leave a company of their own accord. This type of employee turnover is initiated by the employee themselves rather than the employer.
Yeah. So it can stem from a variety of factors, including seeking better career opportunities, higher salaries, more favorable work-life balance, or dissatisfaction with the current job or organizational culture. Voluntary attrition is critical for companies to track because it can impact operational continuity, team morale, and overall productivity. And I bet our friend Mike knows something about that and the connection between voluntary attrition and risk assessment. That's probably something that has to be factored in. So, yeah. Have boundaries so that you don't feel like you have to quit your job.
Right. And be a good boss so your employees don't feel like they have to quit their job.
Yes, I hope some of our listeners are bosses that are just taking notes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Companies that accept and respect their employees' boundaries and don't treat people like they are replaceable all the time actually save money on recruitment and training because lower attrition means less new hires that you have to train, which also leads to a production loss because it typically takes a year or 2 for employees to be fully productive. Katie, did you know that? A year or 2?
I believe it. I always felt like I was new at my job for about a year before, whatever job it was.
Okay.
I felt like I didn't know what I was doing for a long time, So companies that have respect for boundaries have good team stability, which means higher levels of engagement and commitment among employees. Long-term employees are overall better for health and stability of any company, big or small. If you're happy at your job, things go more smoothly, and customers and clients feel more comfortable with people they know and people who don't appear unhappy at their jobs. And like customers can clock that, you know?
Yep.
Have you ever been through like a drive-through window and the person opens the door to hand you your food and they're like just dead inside?
Yeah.
You know? So people can pick up on that.
Yep.
Employees who are miserable can only do so much to hide it, you know? So let's take care. Your own boundaries are your own responsibility. Once you establish them, others need to respect them. Then we can all play nice together.
You know, one of the major changes in my own relationship with my former bad boss was boundaries. I implemented some, and as a result, I became mean and nasty, scary person. We've talked a bit about this before, and I won't beat a dead horse, but the boundaries that I created were crucial to my own mental health and honestly to the relationships in my life that actually mattered. My biggest problem as far as boundaries go in all relationships is my desire to turn any no into a yes. If I told her or really anybody no to anything, I'd almost immediately start trying to do it anyway. I
Yeah.
also do this with my husband and my kids. That's where it started. I started with this one boundary with her. No means no. And no started happening when I was doing something else. When I knew the outcome would be her not being happy with the result, or if I knew it was going to mean explaining something to her, because explaining something to her always resulted in her insulting me.
Because she didn't want to admit that there was something she didn't know or
Well,
was capable
she
of
doesn't
learning.
learn that way. She
Yeah.
learns by writing down step-by-step instructions and taping them to her monitor. No, every time I ever tried to explain the very first boundary was the Facebook thing that I've talked to you about before, when she posted one of her feel sorry for me posts on Facebook.
Ugh.
And she wanted to see the comments because she wanted the attention. But she wasn't getting emails when people commented. And I said, just go to Facebook. And she said, I don't want to spend all day scrolling through Facebook trying to find it. And I was like, you can just go to your
Oh my
page
God.
and you can
Yeah.
just go to your post and you can see all the comments right there. And she screamed at me. I was standing right over there in my office. I will never forget it because it was a Wednesday afternoon. And she knew that she wasn't supposed to call me anyway.
Yeah.
And she screamed at me about this until I screamed back at her that I just wasn't fucking with her Facebook anymore.
Yeah, for real.
And I stuck to that. Never dealt with her Facebook again.
Good. It was so rude.
Boundary number 1.
Yeah, to me, it's always an indication that someone has issues when they try to push boundaries, you know? Like, as soon as you lay down a boundary, if they are resistant to that, then,
Yeah,
not
like
nice.
why?
Not great. Yeah. Especially if you do it in a way that's like, hey, listen, just this is where I'm at. Like, you're not trying to be confrontational. If they take it, like, if they go defensive, if they take it as some kind of way, beware. Beware.
This is kind of off subject, but it is on subject. We watch Love Island, and Love Island USA just started this season. And there's this guy, and he is super chill. I like him a lot. His name is Ace. And there's this super annoying girl that just came in. And he just kind of told her, I really like you, but I'm kind of like, as far as affection and stuff goes, I take it slow. Basically, don't hang all over me, don't kiss me, and please don't call me babe.
Yeah.
Her head exploded. Like her head exploded. And he was just sitting there like all chill and stuff. And he was like, and she was like, babe, see, I just call everybody babe. Screaming at him. Terrible.
Wow. Yeah.
Boundaries, Ace.
Boundaries, man. Okay, so you have to maintain a work-life balance, especially if you're working for a narcissist. But even if your boss is great, you still have to have some balance.
Absolutely.
Boundaries are important in all aspects of life, whether they be clear cuts and out in the open, or in your own head as you navigate being an adult human. There will be overlaps, there will be exceptions, and there may be changes to your boundaries. Like maybe you feel like you're okay with something, but then later you change your mind as you wrestle with it, and you have to come back and say, no, actually, I'm not comfortable with that. I thought I was, but I'm not. And that feels weird because it feels like, oh, I'm going back on what I said, but you're going to be better off if you just come forward with the truth, instead of trying to force yourself through it. Because then they're going to ask you to do it again, So for me, it's that like icky pit of my stomach feeling, the one that keeps me awake at night. Like my conscience is just gnawing at me. That's my intuition telling me you're not comfortable with this for whatever reason. You need to stick to your guns. But the thing about personal and workplace boundaries is that one size does not fit all, and we have to accept and respect that. So like I said, it may be annoying to Ace for someone to call him babe, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with people who call someone babe or who aren't, going to have a problem with that. It's just that's where he's at.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right. And it's kind of like I say dude to people, and I know a lot of people don't like dude. And so you make an effort. It may be natural. It may naturally come out of your mouth. And I think you can tell when somebody, like sometimes I say fuck when I'm talking to my mom, even though I know she doesn't want me to say fuck. And so I try not to. Sometimes it's an accident. And when you have it, when something is an accident, you just go, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Good
enough.
It's not
you just
hard.
Acknowledge it. Yeah, it's really
not hard.
It's really not, people.
Boundaries in general are a personal thing. So each of the types of boundaries and the examples that we may share can be tailored to your own needs because none of us need the same thing. There are types and styles of boundaries in all aspects of life. But at work, it's pretty crucial to implement physical, emotional, time, communication, behavioral, material, professional relationship, and energy boundaries. So let's break it down.
Energy boundaries. It's my energy shield.
Physical boundaries. These have to do with your physical body, the space surrounding your body, as well as your physical needs and the things you are physically comfortable with. Your personal privacy also fits nicely under this type of boundary.
Yes. Next is emotional boundaries. Emotional, and sometimes you hear intellectual boundaries. These are your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas, and how and with whom you want to share them, as well as keeping your personal life and feelings separate from work.
Time boundaries. Simple. Time boundaries are about your work time versus your you time. Communication boundaries. Having a separate personal email. Not allowing work stuff on texts or social media. What hours are appropriate to call you, etc.
Behavioral boundaries. What is and isn't a behavior you will tolerate at work? And this can be a big one. How you interact and expect to be interacted with. So if someone does something that you just feel disrespected by, even if they didn't mean it, that's a behavior. Next is material boundaries. Your stuff. Do you loan it out? Do you share? Do you borrow? I do not. I am admittedly really bad at sharing because I'm an only child and I have just had too many instances where people break my stuff or mess up my space, and it pisses me off because it's just disrespecting my stuff. I used to not let other kids color in my coloring book because they didn't do it right. It would make it messy, and I'm like, I paid for this with my 50 cents. Fuck
50
you.
50 cents allowance.
That pony has purple hair, goddammit. Make it purple. People hated me when I was a child. But no, for real, at work, people always wanted to share the auditorium where I had rehearsals and stuff. And there's a certain amount of that I just had to be okay with. But I had to set boundaries in terms of the week before the show, 2 weeks before the show, do not come in here because my stuff is set up. if you touch it, it's going to fuck up everything. And people could not respect that. And just drove me nuts.
So
And,
I don't have a lot of boundaries personally. I just don't. I don't have a lot of boundaries.
You're an open book, pretty much.
And my husband is also an only child who
So that's why you were snickering.
Doesn't share a lot. and I'm always just like, what's wrong with you? They're your children. Just let them, and he's like, so his truck, his Jeep, he gets those stupid rubber ducks.
Yeah, the Jeep ducks.
Yeah, this is funny. So he gets those stupid rubber ducks. A rubber duck killed my dog. True story.
Oh, God.
My
Did
dog
you
ate
it?
a rubber ducky
Oh, no.
and he died. So they're not allowed in my house. You can't bring a rubber duck in my house. But he can have them as long as they stay in the Jeep, right? So I have to use his Jeep when I take our granddaughter to gymnastics on Tuesdays. And she likes to have toys. So I hand her a duck, right? She plays with the duck in the back seat. I put it back where I got it. Apparently, one day, I didn't put one back where I got it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, you would have thought that I let her drive his Jeep. He was like, don't mess with my stuff. I have them where I want them. And when I put my sunglasses on the dashboard, they didn't go where they were supposed to go because the ducks were messed up.
Gosh.
So
that sounds like my husband too, honestly. And I'm just like, fine, I'm not going to touch any of your shit. Like, it's just, nope.
So yesterday or Tuesday, Monday night, she was here. And he said to her, do you have the red duck with the lightning bolt on it? And she goes, oh, yeah, I know exactly where it is. It's at Mama's house. I know exactly where it is. So when I went to take her to gymnastics, I said, did you find that duck? And she said, yeah. So we've got the duck, right? We put it where it goes in the Jeep. We go to take her home Tuesday night. When she asked me about the duck, I said, oh, Poppy was being a brat about his ducks. So we get in the Jeep. And he pulls out this duck from the center console and he says, here, you can have this one. It had a red, white, and blue hat on it. And he doesn't feel very proud right now of the red, white, and blue. So he was like, she can have this one. She goes, oh, thanks, Poppy. We thought you were a jerk.
So that's not over.
I was like, I said brat. I didn't say jerk. And he was like, just don't piss me off right now.
Over a rubber duck.
I love being married.
I also love being married. And I don't know what I said the other day. We're way off topic, but I gotta tell you. So like I walked over to his office, like not in his office. He had his door open and I kind of saw him sitting there and it was lunchtime. And I was like, are you going to take lunch at any point soon? And I meant it like, because if you are, then I'll take lunch at the same time so we can eat together. He like grumbled something in response. And I was like, okay, he's busy. I'm just going to eat, Later, I asked him, I said something about it and he was like, well, I didn't like your tone. And I was like, I promise I didn't have a tone. I just wanted to know, like, were you gonna eat at the same time? And yeah, it's like, I promise. So I guess I need to, I don't know.
You need to
throw glitter in front of
exactly
me before I enter
say your words.
Or something. Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound like I had a tone, but you may have already been irritated, and that's why you were irritated to hear me.
And I do. I swear to God, I didn't say jerk.
Yeah.
Professional relationships. You may make your very best friend at work, or you may keep work friends completely separate from outside of work friends. That's up to you. Energy boundaries. Some energies just don't mix. And if someone at work is draining your energy or changing your energy, this might be a reason to look for a different job or a different position away from that energy.
Yeah. So I think, and I am guilty of this too when I was a teacher, of just like every time I was around a certain friend at work, I just would like complain about shit to them. But it was because that was the only person I trusted to say the truth to. Sometimes like the other teachers I felt like would tattle on me if I complained to them. And so I do feel like I changed the energy with negativity sometimes, so that's something to be aware of. And like, if one of my friends had said like, hey, can we just not talk about that at work? I just need to get through the day, that would have been fair. So be aware of how your energy might change other people's moods as well. All right. All day long, we can come up with boundaries, but if we don't tell people our boundaries, they will not know. You have to communicate them, you guys, even if you think they are common knowledge.
Yeah, the more I live, the more I realize that common knowledge is not really a thing.
Yeah.
We also must have consequences for repeat boundary offenders. This sounds a bit cringe, like we're all adults. Are you talking like punishment? Not really, but you cannot effectively enforce your boundaries without consequences.
Mm-hmm. So, like, one of my boundaries is that I do not discuss politics with certain people. If they bring it up, I end the conversation, and I have made it clear, if you bring this up, I will just end the conversation with you. And I don't do it rudely. I'll just say, like, okay, well, I've got to go now. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, like, they just want to argue with me when they bring it up.
Well, and oftentimes when it seems like when you try to politely say, I don't want to discuss that, that makes some people think that that's the time to double down.
Yeah, or they're like, oh, you don't want to debate me because you know you're wrong or whatever. Like, no, you're being a dick now. Like, I said I just don't want to talk about that with you. I don't even need to give you a reason. So, yeah. So, tell me about Terry Cole.
Terry Cole is a licensed psychotherapist and global leading expert in female empowerment. She wrote a book called Boundary Boss, and there is a ton of info on her website, Terry Cole, Terry with an I, TerryCole.com, where you can actually even download PDFs on the vast variety of helpful topics on all sorts of relationships.
Very cool. All right. According to Terry Cole, there are 3 steps to creating and enforcing your boundaries. Step 1 is make a first-time boundary request if you haven't already. For example, your coworker took credit for your work. You say, I noticed that you didn't give me credit for the work I did and you took the credit for yourself. I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that.
Yep. Step 2.
Good enough.
If the boundary is crossed, repeat your request and then add the consequence. Example. I saw that you took all the credit for the work I did again. If you do that again, I will have to speak to our supervisor.
Yeah. Step 3, uphold the boundary and enforce the consequences. Example, you did it again. Either you can go tell our supervisor or I will. But remember, we cannot promise to do something that we are not going to do. Rule number 1 of teaching/parenting, don't tell a kid there will be consequences and then not enforce them. Because then nothing you say from then on means shit to them. They will walk all over you.
Yeah, we made that mistake a lot. Because consequences, they're hard, not only on the person receiving them, but a lot of times on the person giving them out. They're
Absolutely.
hard.
I didn't want to have to send a kid to the office. You know, I didn't want to have to call their parents. But if I said I would, then I had to. If they continued, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard with Crazy Train too, because it was hard to, first of all, come up with consequences for your boss.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do to quote unquote punish her when she calls my phone over and over and over again? Nothing. There's nothing I can do.
Turn your phone off.
Well, that is what I did, but that's not a consequence for her. You know, I said, do not call me more than once unless your house is on fire. And she decided that if her house was, what's the word? Not literally, but figuratively. Her house was figuratively on fire. Like, oh, well, my house was on fire. No. I mean, like flames on your house.
This bitch just wanted to control you.
Yeah, well, I gave her...
She wanted to feel superior.
After the Facebook thing, I told her, you yelled at me 3 times about this. That's going to be my limit. You yell at me 3 times, and I'm never doing this, whatever this task is for you again. And she wound up with a lot of tasks being undone by me because you kept yelling at me about
She
it.
kept yelling at you. See, I would have said, if you yell at me twice, 3 times, if you give somebody 3 chances, then the second one's free. That's why I would never count to 3 with the kids. I'd just be like, you do that again. This is your one warning. You do it again, you're done. Because they will use up all their chances. Yeah.
You cannot punish your husband with timeouts or spankings. Well,
you can't
unless
punish
he
him
likes
another way.
spankings. Another thing we learned from Terry is what she calls the Boundary Boss Bill of Rights.
I love that.
I know. I love it too. And that's one of the PDFs that I downloaded for free from terrycole.com.
Cool.
Number 1, you have the right to say no or yes without guilt.
Nice.
Practice saying no in low-stakes situations to build confidence when it comes to more important people or decisions. The discomfort that may come with saying no is a sign of stepping into healthier patterns.
Number 2, you have the right to make mistakes, course correct, and change your mind. Allow yourself to admit when something isn't working. Be honest with where you're at and forgive yourself for being imperfect. This one is really hard for me because when I have made a mistake and someone corrects me on it and I feel like, oh no, my reputation of being the smart one who knows everything is now at stake. You know, it's like, it just gets to me in a way that I'm working on, you know, and changing my mind and stuff too. Like I always wanted to be just like my word is bond, but sometimes, you know, we're a human being. And if you need to change your mind,
Minds change. Ideas change. Things change. Time changes things. It is okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
And it's okay to make mistakes. And it's okay to say, I was wrong.
Yeah. And, you know, I did find that when I did make a mistake with my students, okay, so when I made a mistake in whatever teaching situation I was in, and then I admitted it to the kids, and I said, you know what, I was wrong about that. Here's how we're going to pivot. I'm sorry that I made this mistake. I felt like they had more respect for me after that.
They did.
Than they would have if I had just doubled down and not admitted it and whatever, because like that is what makes you look like a weak leader.
Or blamed somebody else.
Or deflect. Yeah, all of those things. If you just own up to it, you're in a way better position.
Yeah, people will respect you more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Number 3, you have the right to negotiate for your preferences, desires, and needs. Negotiate for preferences in low-stakes situations to build the confidence to advocate for bigger ones.
Oh my gosh, I just thought of an example of this.
Okay, good.
When I was teaching, there would be times where we would get like a catered lunch or like some local restaurant would bring us all lunch, the teachers, which was really nice and like not something they had to do. And so I really appreciated that. But I was a vegetarian and oftentimes there would just be no option for me. And so when we had these like faculty meetings and stuff, like when there was no chance for me to go and get other food and that was the only food they had and all I could eat was like the bread, you know, that was not great. And I didn't feel comfortable speaking up about that because I felt like I was being whiny and ungrateful, but really I was just hungry and then hangry and then ornery and then a bitch. Like,
and then then you have like hurt feelings.
Yeah, it made me feel like I wasn't being listened to, you know, and it's really like I wouldn't have expected special treatment, but just like make sure there's like something
An option
that I could eat. An option.
Yeah.
And I was not the only one who was a vegetarian on the staff either.
Like a
and
pasta
so sometimes,
salad or even a green salad.
I love a pasta salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go a little bit out of your way sometimes to make somebody feel like they've been heard and listened to, that is going to gain respect from employees too. Number 4, You have the right to express and honor all your feelings, if you so choose. The phrase, I don't feel comfortable, is enough. You
Yeah.
don't have to expound beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Sometimes the reason that someone doesn't feel comfortable is not something they feel comfortable telling you. So just take them at their word. Next, number 5. You have the right to voice your opinion, even if others disagree with you. Argumentative people sometimes need to learn the difference between opinion and fact. In my opinion.
Right.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's like a societal issue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm allowed to have an opinion. I'm also allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to disagree with me. But you're not allowed to be a dick, because then I'll block you.
Yep. There's a popular phrase that gets on my nerves a little bit, and that's my truth. Because there is the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get it. I get what is meant by it, but I think sometimes it's taken too far.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the intent of it is like, this situation where like I stepped on your foot and your truth is that your toe is broken. Mm-hmm. My truth is that I accidentally put my foot in the wrong place. It wasn't that I purposely did that, But
both of those are truths.
Yeah, absolutely. But someone who's denying that and saying, I didn't break her foot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do it on purpose.
That I didn't do it.
No, it happened. Yeah. So we just have to consider there's nuance there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You also have the right to be treated with respect, consideration, and care. Start by saying, I felt disrespected when you ... Mm-hmm. Remember, your feelings are valid, even if the other person didn't mean to disrespect you.
Yeah.
Sometimes people legitimately don't know something they're doing bothers us unless we tell them. And other times they're being assholes and doing it on purpose. But do give them the benefit of the doubt and tell them respectfully the first time it happens.
Yes. And if you're at work, save the receipt. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I feel awkward sometimes having like a confrontation face to face with somebody.
Me too.
But if I can send them a message or an email and just say like, hey, I kind of felt disrespected when you said you called me sweetheart, or whatever it is. Like they may not have meant anything, but yeah, just a documentation of that, because then if they do it again, you can be like, see, on October 3rd at 11:58 a.m., I sent you this message. So we had this conversation. Mm-hmm. All right. Number 7, you have the right to determine who has the privilege of being in your life. Cutting somebody out is hard, but you're allowed to block people. You just are. And if it's better for your mental health to not have that person in your life, or at least have some space from that person, then that is allowed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Number 8, you have the right to communicate your boundaries, limits, and deal breakers. Use compassionate statements like, I can't take that task on right now, but I hope you find someone who can. I think that's well put.
That's kind of like it's kind of like me not being able to say no. Mm-hmm. Saying something like, I can't do that right now, but I sure hope you find someone who can, would have maybe been helpful to me.
Yeah.
You have the right to prioritize your self-care without feeling selfish. We've talked about this before. I'm not really down with the whole self-care craze, but I do think that you need to take care of yourself.
Right.
So you should treat self-care as non-negotiable by blocking time in your calendar for it. Start with 15 minutes of something that recharges you and feels great. I go for a walk every morning. That is not negotiable.
Yep.
Number 10, you have the right to talk true, be seen, and live free. I love that. Reflect on what living free means to you and what feels authentic versus what feels performative. Then make choices that align with your authentic truth.
Yes.
My authentic truth.
Yeah. So if you missed our Working While Gay episode that we did for Pride Month, it is worth checking out no matter where you fall on the Kinsey scale. But yeah, we're talking about living your truth, and Terry Cole agrees with us. So this whole conversation about boundaries made me think about cats. Are you a cat person, Ivy?
I wish I was a cat person. I love cats.
Okay. But you're not anti-cat. I know that you're pro-dog.
No. I would love to have cats.
I think, so a lot of people that are anti-cat, just like, oh, cats suck, end of story. I think that those people sometimes may just not really get what the cat is communicating in terms of their boundaries.
Or
right?
they've only ever known female cats.
Or they've only ever known one cat, and that cat was a bitch, Some cats are cuddly, some are not. Some are straight up assholes and will bite the shit out of you. Yeah. But most of the time, a cat is communicating their boundaries to you in some way. You just may not know what the signals are or what they mean, right? So when you pick up a cat and she doesn't want to be held and she tries to get down and you hold on, then she growls or hisses at you and you hold on. Like, at that point, you deserve to get bit.
Or scratched, yeah.
Or scratched, or whatever she's going to do. Because she's telling you, I don't want you to hold me, And I've noticed that when I'm trying to make friends with a new cat, if I hold the cat and they try to get down and I immediately put them down, then that cat's like, okay, you're cool.
Yeah.
It's the same way.
Dogs are kind of like that.
Yeah. Dogs sometimes will cross my boundaries, you know what I mean? Like, they'll jump on me when I don't want to be jumped on.
Dogs will cross my boundaries too.
Yeah.
We had a cat for 9 years. Her name was Kitty, like me.
Yeah.
And we didn't know for all those 9 years that our oldest son was allergic. We just wondered why he didn't feel good all the time.
Oh God. Poor guy.
Talk about some mothering guilt.
Oh, that's okay. He lived.
He's fine.
He's all right. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we've got a listener story this week, don't we?
We do have a listener story this week. It's more of like an advice column.
I know.
When Facebook first came to be, a girlfriend of mine from high school posted a picture, and it was a advice column from a high school newspaper, and it looked super familiar to me, and I was like, it was called Dear Biff and Buffy, and I was looking at it, and I was like, that's me. I wrote an advice column in high school and forgot all about it.
Well, then you're completely qualified
All right.
to answer this question.
All right, so here it goes.
Yep.
My supervisor heard a few sentences of me on the phone attempting to help a coworker. She has an office. I have a cube setting without privacy. My coworker needed something fixed in a medical chart with billing. The person he asked to speak with was on annual leave. I asked if he reached out to our contracted coder. He hadn't. I told him I would email him her name and contact information. My supervisor ran out of her office and said,
I heard part of your conversation about coding. What is going on?
She did not let me explain the whole story, interrupted me saying,
What is the patient's name and date of birth?
I replied, I don't know, and started to explain when she interrupted me again and said,
How do you expect to help with the coding issue if you don't know the name and DOB?
Then she said,
Never mind, I'll just call him.
And walked away. I have nothing to do with billing coding. Why would I need confidential patient name and date of birth? I only answer the phone to help clinical staff and really patients. I don't have to. Please advise. What do I do? I thought of putting in some panels to cut down on noise or just not answer the phone when she is there. Help.
Okay. Yes. So, maybe some panels to cut down on the noise. I can send you an Amazon link to all the foam you need. But no, like, you're talking to two voice actors here. So if you want soundproofing advice, we got you.
Yeah, we got it.
But before you build a bat cave for your phone calls, I think you just need to stand up for yourself. Ask for a private conversation and say to your boss, I felt disrespected when you interrupted me and made assumptions about what was going on without letting me explain. You can also totally just email that request to her in addition to or instead of having an in-person conversation, because that also would create a receipt of that, right? If she pushes back and gets pissy or defensive, well, she's in the wrong. She sucks. You win, okay? But surely she has a supervisor. So after you bring this up with her, if she does it again, you go over her head. Go over her head. This isn't tattling. Consider the fact that if she does this to you, she probably gets away with doing it to other people too. And if you're afraid to say something for your own sake, think of how your coworkers might feel and speak up for them.
Yeah,
You know?
I think it might be as simple as just saying to her, like Katie said, you know, you didn't let me finish what I was trying to say. May I explain to you now what I was trying to say? Because I had it handled and you only heard a part of the conversation. It just kind of depends on the relationship between her and the supervisor. It sounds like that supervisor is a bit high strung.
Yeah, and also nosy.
Yeah.
Like she made more work for herself.
Right.
Because she just didn't let this person handle the thing that it's their job to just direct someone to help them with. So, yeah. Crazy. All right. Did you like my evil boss voice? That was fun.
I did.
Thanks
It was
for letting me
great.
do that.
Yeah, we should do more acting out.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. You ready for a vocab word?
I am always ready for your vocabulary word.
This is one of my favorite words, and I need to use it more often.
Okay.
This week's vocabulary word is defenestration. Defenestration is a noun. It means 1. A throwing of a person or thing out of a window.
Defenestration.
Second definition is a usually swift dismissal or expulsion, as from a political party or office. The defenestration of a political leader, the mass defenestration of middle management. Okay.
Can we throw them out the window?
Yeah, I mean, it can mean literally or figuratively throwing something out the window. Yeah, is the act of defenestration.
Okay.
So the transitive verb of that is defenestrate, right?
To defenestrate.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to defenestrate you.
I will defenestrate your ass.
Yeah, I will
if you don't
defenestrate
shut
you
the
right
fuck
out
up.
that fucking window.
So yes, our example sentence is, don't defenestrate your boundaries just because your boss swears this is the last urgent thing. Spoiler, it's never the last one. Okay? Just... And if you do it, if you say, okay, I'll take care of that, there's going to be more and more and more and more and more. Because once someone figures out that your boundaries are not real, they're like, okay, I can just do whatever I want. Just walk all over this bitch. So yeah. Defenestration. The more you know. Okay.
Oh, well, I guess that's it for boundaries.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We are so close to 1,000 downloads, at which point we could conceivably start making some money from this show. So if you're enjoying it, please share this episode and the one before it and the one before it and the ones after it with that one people pleaser friend you love so much, but just needs permission to say no.
Yeah. We're giving her permission.
Here's your
him
permission.
Or them permission. Here's your permission. You're allowed to say no. It's a rule. It's a rule now. And we were thrilled to include a listener story this week.
Yes.
Thank you so much, listener.
Thank you,
If you've got a story that you want to share, or like this listener, you just want some advice, we're happy to help in whatever way we can. Even if that's just retelling your horror story and giving your boss an annoying character voice. Like, if that makes you feel better, I'm happy to oblige.
Yeah, give us your stories, like, you know, in script form.
Oh, yeah, totally. We will do readers' theater.
Readers' theater. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. A lot of the scripts that I wrote for my students are now available on Teachers Pay Teachers for readers' theater purposes. So that's fun. Send us your stories, episode ideas, pleas for help, and messages in bottles to stories@badbossdetox.com. And also feel free to follow our Facebook at Bad Boss Detox and our Instagram at Bad Boss Detox Pod. Yay. Well, that's it for this week. I'm going to go tell my husband that I felt disrespected when... No, I'm not.
No.
I don't. He's not disrespectful.
No.
He just occasionally gets salty, just like everyone.
I would go tell my husband that I'm sorry for calling him a brat to our granddaughter, but I think he's forgotten, so I don't want to bring it up.
Don't bring it up.
I'm going to go read an audition for a book about menopause.
Oh, my. All right. Well, thanks for potting with me, Ivy. That was fun.
I love it. All right. Join us next week when we'll be talking about some bosses who aren't just micromanaging asshats. They've got actual criminal records. That's right. It's a whole episode about bosses who broke bad. Some of these stories are stranger than fiction, you guys. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, should be good. I'm excited for this next topic.
It'll be fun.
All right.
Okay.
I'll see you next time.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.